Hey everybody. Okay, let's go into the discussion of the Texas Department of Family Protective Services letter that was issued to me today. And before I do, if you've not ever had a case with CPS, when your children are returned, all their belongings are supposed to come with them. In my case, CPS brought my children back and their medicine, yet I had to go back to Waxahachie for 3 different times to pick up my kids' belongings. So it didn't happen the way it's supposed to happen, but the good note is CPS did send them back with all their meds while in foster care, and here they are. And yes, I did keep them all. Okay, so in this letter that they sent back, it's supposed to be a letter explaining what they found in the investigation and that kind of thing. Now, no one once called me and asked me questions or nothing like that. So the letter says, "Dear Ms. Cook, thank you for bringing your concerns to Judge Specia, the Commissioner Department of Family Protective Services, as well as Amy Liner, the lead associate of the Office of Consumer Affairs." It says that the concerns were shared, phone calls were made, and emails. Well, first of all, I've never met Miss Amy Liner. I've never had a phone call, a text message, an email, nothing from her. So I'm guessing she got her information from, I don't know who. So on July 9th, it says that in an email from a gentleman who wrote this letter, his name is Jose Martinez. He is the manager of the Office of Consumer Affairs. It basically said that a lot of my allegations did not fall within the jurisdiction of his office, and that basically I need to go to all these other places and have my allegations investigated, including the one on perjury where my social workers lied under oath. Well, he tells me to go to my court. My hearing's over. Okay, so it says basically that I need to contact the Inspector General on my allegations of my social worker hiding my son's HIV test and confronting my medical examiner, which I have publicly put on my Facebook page as evidence. It says that according to him and his understanding, that Judge Specia told him that he's already told me this information. Okay, well, would you be surprised to know the only time I've ever talked to Judge Specia was on June 25th at the Sunset hearing in front of Channel 7 News, when Judge Specia guaranteed the Sunset Committee that he himself would fully investigate my allegations as well as my children's sexual and physical abuse that went uninvestigated. Yet Judge Specia gave it to Mr. Martinez, and Mr. Martinez felt it needed that he would not contact me. Instead, he would send me 3 emails. And in one of them, basically, he said, "Your kids are home. You basically should work with the CPS workers until their case is over." Okay, so it says, "As you know, the emails you sent me contain photographs of injuries on the bodies of your children that you felt occurred while they were in CPS care." Okay, I didn't feel it. I know it did. Those pictures were taken in December of 2013 when Kendra Brown and Flora dropped them off while Channel 4 News was sitting outside my friend's home waiting on the arrival of my children. Those same pictures, CPS refused to give to RCCL. And here you state to contact RCCL and do an investigation. There was an investigation. On my Facebook, there's a letter from Gingerbread House that confirms that only 2 of my children's interviews went to the district attorney, and my CPS worker, Kendra Brown, kept my oldest son, the one who was beaten and sexually assaulted for 9 months, and she did nothing. She kept a copy of his papers and his interview. So I'll go ahead and try it again and contact RCCL and see what happens the second time around when I provide the information and not my CPS worker. Okay, then it says that in investigation to my concerns, I made a report that my son Justin was left at school unpicked up from his foster homes for several hours. Okay, according to this gentleman, it says that my CPS social workers denied it. Yet, it states clearly that the CPS attorneys verified that it did happen, and that in their response it actually says that Justin was left, had an out-of-town ball game, and the foster parents instructed him to call when he arrived back on the campus, and that Justin failed to do so. Okay, well, first of all, you're talking about a 12-year-old child who was just ripped from the only family he ever knew, who did not own a cell phone, a child in a different community and county than he's ever lived, and again, a 12-year-old child. Well, first of all, that incident is not the incidents I reported. I was actually reporting an incident about him being left on his own campus after school. So, was he left twice? Okay. Then it says that basically, okay, as regards to your allegations of foster parents smoking, it says that they are trained not to smoke around the kids. They can't even have the odor of it. And it says that CPS staff, as well as the lady driving my children to and from our visits, state that they have never sensed an odor or smelt it on the foster parents. You honestly think that I believe my social workers went up to the foster parents and went, huh. But you know, not one mentioning that my children came to every visit reeking of cigarette smoke. And in fact, my allegation was because my child, who has severe lung disease, she has trachomalacia, she has Pure-Walden syndrome, and severe asthma, was placed with smokers, and she was coming to every entire visit sick. And actually, I was having to give her breathing treatment during my visits. And I do have video of her sick in my visits. But what they're trying to say is basically 3 of my children who were in one foster home with a total of 14 children are lying. They're trying to say my child, who's not ever been known to tell a lie, who knows her medical history and what she can and cannot be around, lied. Kind of like when there was a fire started in her foster home and my social worker was on stand at court and my attorney asked her about it and she denied it never happened, but then went back and found out that, yeah, the foster mom wasn't watching a 4 to 5-year-old who started a fire on the stove. But good job, CPS, of blaming 7 children for lying. Okay, then it says that they investigated my concerns about sedation. I made an allegation that my daughter was coming to my visit, sleeping the entire visit, which she was. CPS contacted me on the hour phone call and told me basically that Mary Jane was not sleeping, that Mary Jane's foster mom and her doctor felt that Mary Jane needed to be sedated. I contacted my pediatrician, who said sedating a child with Benadryl is child abuse, and he would not agree with it. I as well. So I said, well, why did you go straight to Benadryl when melatonin is a natural substance? So my social worker basically told me if I didn't agree to allow them to sedate my 3-year-old, that she would be moved to her 3rd foster home, because this is her 2nd foster home. And then in court records, it clearly states that Mary Jane was given Benadryl and melatonin to sleep. This letter actually is not in regards to Mary. This is actually in regards to Wesley, my 1-year-old, who has never had allergies, who's never had a sleep issue. He left her at 14 months old. But the letter states that Wesley's doctor prescribed him Benadryl because he has difficulty sleeping, and because I had a concern, the foster parents opted not to use any medicine to sedate any of my children. Okay, so a while ago I showed you a box of medicine that CPS sent. Okay, would you be surprised to know that this, which is melatonin, which clearly says Mary, and on there it says nighttime sleep aid, was sent back with me an empty bottle, as well as my son, who has no allergies, and they clearly state on this letter, was given no meds for sedation or sleeping, was prescribed, if you look right here, it says Wesley Lardidine, which is an off-brand of Benadryl, used. But clearly this letter says that the foster parents opted to use none of the medicine. Well, point blank, that would be that this letter contains falsification and lies. If I have medicine that proves that they were being sedated, this letter in black and white proves that my social workers have lied now to you. Okay, so farther in here it says, in regards to my complaints that my court order said I was access to have educational and medical records, it was actually brought forth on the stand during my court hearing that my social worker actually contacted my son's heart doctor and told them that I could not have any medical records regarding anything having to do with his heart. And so during a hearing, we brought that up, and the judge said, well, that's not the agreement. She's supposed to have access to those. I went to a heart appointment, and the doctor confirmed again that Child Protective Services social workers told him with full regards that nothing could be released to me. Now, since then, CPS has contacted him and asked him to basically give me any records. Well, that's because I make all decisions regarding their medical and educational needs now. So, good job, CPS, of trying to cover it up again. Then it says that basically the only reason that my kids were in care, or the only reason they were in care that long, or why the CPS are still in my life, is not because of CPS. That is only because of the court. Clearly blaming blame on the court system. Well, okay, so the court is not the person that 8 days after my son died felt the need to hide his HIV test. Court is not the person who got on the stand under oath and said I had no family to take my kids and I need to go to foster care. My court is also not the person who did not hand over all the medical records of my deceased son. The court is also not the one who waited 9 months to report sexual and physical abuse of my children and of medical neglect that they concurred. But what I've learned is black and white cannot be erased, and it's evidence. So clearly, I just proved, again, that my social workers not only lied to me, our courts, our attorneys, their attorneys, but now the Office of Consumer Affairs and Judge Specia's office. Instead, what I wanted was for you to fully investigate my children's allegations, the children who were forced to endure day-to-day beatings, sexual fondling, sexual assault, medical neglect, and children who were found crying themselves to sleep at night because social workers felt the need to rip them from the only loving family where they never once suffered abuse or neglect. I asked for you to investigate fully, not to contact social workers that I have proven time after time have covered their butts, lied, entered false records into the court system. But clearly, this letter and the medicine that I have is more proof that my social workers will go far more than what the public would ever expect to cover up their lies. This is about 7 children who was ripped from a loving home for 377 days. Children who were never once beaten, spanked, or neglected, who returned victims of physical and sexual assault and severe emotional abuse, as well as medical neglect. Again, I will reach out again and ask for a full investigation into my allegations, my children's allegations, and all the proof that I have that shows 100% corruption in our case. Take the time to listen to the people who matter the most and who suffered at the hands of these social workers.